I just briped. And you know what? It was good. I'm gonna make another and I'm gonna tell you about it as I do. So the Bripe is this thing. It's a coffee brewing pipe. Certainly looks a bit funky. It's very light. The package comes with quite a few different things in this kind of lovely little pouch thing. I haven't got everything that comes with it here, and I'll explain why that is a bit later. But they give you this little vial to keep your beans in. You could pre-grind and put them in there. Nice little kind of like dosing test tube. But you know I like to grind fresh. And we're just going to tap that level. We're now going to fill this with 30 mils of water. There is a mark on the outside for your water level. That's quite difficult to use, and from my experience, I normally end up putting too little water in when I use that. But I found that the scoop from an AeroPress Go actually is the perfect amount. Water goes in. And here we have a Bripe branded thermometer. We use that to give our coffee a stir. Make sure the water is getting in contact with everything. And then that just sits nicely here. And I'm going to be using an alcohol stove to warm my Bripe. This wants to warm to 185 degrees Fahrenheit. When you buy the Bripe and it comes to you in this fancy case, they include a quad jet butane lighter to light underneath this thing and warm it. That lighter is very aggressive. It's also quite heavy, so it's not great for backpacking because of its weight. You can only make about 4 Bripes with it before it runs out. That's no good. And it is so aggressive, it warms the coffee, I think, far too quickly. You get some astringent taste, you get under extraction. I've started using it with an alcohol stove, which is what I carry with me backpacking anyway, and actually that really seems to do a good job. It takes a little longer to warm, but it's a more even heat, it's a more even extraction. We are coming close to temperature now. I can see some foaming and bubbling starting to happen, and very soon we'll take this off the heat. It takes a minute or so to cool down. This is now cooled sufficiently. I've given it an extra little stir. And I'm blowing gently into it to get rid of some grounds out the filter, and then we'll have a much smoother experience. It is good. So the Bripe only uses 30 mils of water. What it makes is a small, strong coffee, and it is strong, but it is also really, really good. So coffee out of this thing is loud. And for me, as someone who's only got into coffee in the last couple of years, I quite enjoy this when I'm using a new batch of beans and I'm trying to taste all the things that are in there, trying to develop my sense of taste. The Bripe's quite useful for that because it kind of dials everything up. So with the coffee that I'm using in this, I can really taste like the floral stuff going on with it. It's got quite a nice kind of berry kind of acid to it, which is very tasty, and the Bripe really shows that off. And then when I go back to other brewing methods, it makes it easier to pick out those flavors and those notes in different styles of cup. So that's quite useful from a kind of coffee enthusiast perspective. Now, it's possible to accuse this brewer of being posery, and yeah, it is posery, but it's also really, really fun, and it also makes good coffee. So I kind of don't care, because I'm having fun when I Bripe. In terms of the style of coffee, I guess it's very similar to Turkish coffee, or at least that's something that you're reminded of, partly because of this copper construction, and partly because there are a couple of grounds that get through the filter on your first sip, making it reminiscent of Turkish coffee. Again, small, strong coffee. As a backpacker, I really like it because it is light and it's small, and you get like a nice shot of coffee out of it. Let's give this thing some scores. For weight and packability, now that's a bit of a tricky one. It is very light, it is very small, but this feels like a really nice object. I wouldn't want to damage it, so I'm not going to just throw it into my pack without thinking. So I think I'm going to mark it down a bit there. Things like the Tetra Drip that we tested before could just slip into your pocket. You can take it somewhere without thinking. You'd have to pack this carefully, despite it being light and small. So I'm going to say 3.5, maybe 4 for that one. For experience, I think it scores really highly because it is so much fun. I can only speak personally, and I really enjoy this. I would give this a 5 for the experience of making and for drinking from it, because it is just so much fun. It's going to be quite divisive. You know, it's a love it or hate it thing. And so even though I'm saying I really like it, I think you'll probably know just from watching this whether it's for you. If you think it looks kind of fun, kind of silly, and you want to give it a try, I think you'd really enjoy it. If you think it looks dumb and stupid, trying it is not going to convince you otherwise. The only downside to this thing is cleaning it out is a little bit more difficult than, say, with an AeroPress, although I guess the AeroPress is the easiest thing in the world. So you can knock most of the grounds out, but then to rinse it properly you need quite a bit of water. Takes a minute or two. So yeah, that's a bit of a downside. It makes this whole experience of using the Bripe take that bit longer, and I'm going to knock a mark off for that. So rather than the full 5, I'm giving it 4 because cleanup is messy. On the category of taste, I'm going to give it a 5. It's a very simple brewer. It's easy to dial in and get a small, strong coffee that's really enjoyable. It is very much its own thing, so don't come to it expecting it to taste like other coffee brewers. It's its own experience, and that for itself makes it interesting to me. I've been thinking to myself, what is the point of making fresh coffee outside? You know, I'm making this series about coffee brewers that you can use while you're out and about, but why is it such a big deal? And you know, the obvious answer is it isn't. You don't have to have coffee whilst you're out and about, but I feel like it really enhances my experience. The coffee that I had in my Bripe had these really nice kind of like berry kind of notes in it, kind of like a raspberry sweetness that I really enjoy. And as I'm walking and I kind of have the remains of that taste in my mouth, I feel like it's awakening the rest of my senses to listen and look and observe. It is improving my hike experience,